this episode is going to annoy some people. I already know it, and I already saw it. So the season finale of House of the Dragon is here, and I can already tell this is going to ruffle some feathers. It's going to bother some people because for a season finale, it didn't have this big climactic battle or this big climactic showdown. It didn't have this high intensity, death and destruction and carnage. It was still, again, that slow burner episode, that slow build up, the finalizations of the pieces to start the war. And I said it a couple videos ago that this season was not going to end with the battle starting. Actually, I said the season's either going to end with the battle officially about to start, or like all the pieces being put into place so that season 3 will start with the battles going forward. And I was right. This season ended exactly how I thought it would end, with all the building frames, all the pieces put together so that the war can officially begin and start. I figured that's how it would end. And I've already seen the discourse. Tons of people were not happy with how this season ended. But did this season end on was the episode bad? No, it's actually not a bad episode. It's a pretty solid episode across the board. But if you were expecting the crazy action, the dragons, the carnage, and all that stuff, no, that doesn't happen in this episode. But again, that doesn't make it a bad episode. We have Jacaerys interacting with Wolf of White and the other dragon seeds at 2 different parts, and he's physically showing his disdain. And now I get it. In the last video, I was like, yo, why is he so mad? He's the one that brought up the whole dragon seed thing. He's mad that they're not born of nobility. That's what it was. And I think the last episode kind of explained that, and I think I just missed it. This time it makes it pretty clear. He's got massive issues, and Ulf is... I don't know if they're going to make a change, because, again, I don't know how the books play the characters of Ulf or Hugh. I don't know if Hugh is very respectful until he decides to turncoat, and I don't know if Ulf was the same way in the books or not. I don't know. But in this one right now, as of right now, Hugh's being very respectful, and Ulf is being the total little, honestly, piece of shit. He's being a terrible fucking person. He's like, I got a dragon, so everyone will worship my feet. And I understand where he's coming from. I mean, people revere the dragons as a whole, so Ulf's like, I'm just acting how most of us would act, right? But it's rubbing people the wrong way with how Ulf is acting. And he has that whole scene where Jacaerys comes up and he tells him to get his feet off the table, and he's like, who do you think you are? And he's like, this is the prince. And then Ulf's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And you would think from that moment forward he would have a little bit more respect, because he gets called out right in the spot for disrespecting the prince. And in all reality, Jacaerys probably could have had him killed right then, right there, for being the disrespectful little fool that he is. But then at the dinner table later in the episode, he basically is doing the same thing, and he's like, I need to learn to take a joke, blah blah. And it's like, I have a feeling if they're going to change anything, Ulf's going to be a character that gets killed by Jacaerys. And while I understand that'll be completely off brand from what the book trying to tell us, I think it would be kind of impressive, for one, to see Jacaerys pull the trigger on something like that, but also just to kind of see that, because right now I didn't mind Ulf up until this moment, and now Ulf's getting a little too pig-headedness, and it's actually starting to rub me the wrong way. Again, never had issue with the character up until this, but now all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm starting to not like him. We also see the descent growing, the distancing from Alicent and her kids, because, well, not her kids, but with Aemon, she's trying to talk to Helena about leaving, and he comes in and he's like, you're gonna get your dragon, you're coming out, you're gonna do stuff. And Alicent's like, she's not this type of person anyway, and how dare you force her to do this? And she's standing up for Helena, because Helena doesn't want to do this either. She literally doesn't want to be this type of person. She likes her dragon, she rides her dragon, but she doesn't want to do these kind of things. And Alicent and Aemon keep going at it, and he's basically like, you were once the queen. Just because she's still the queen doesn't mean anything. And he even tells his mom, he's like, I could have you killed for this. So Aemon is absolutely losing his mind in the consumption of the power of being the king. Because in the beginning of the episode, we see him setting with Vhagar over top this town, this little area that he's completely wiped out. He just set it ablaze and destroyed it, and he's happy with it. And it's all because of when he followed Silverwing in the last episode back, and he realized that the dragon's on over it with Rhaenyra, and he turned back. He got all mad and pissy about it. That's really why it was. So Aemon's losing himself to his own authority as the king. Oh man, I was messing up. Alicent's no longer having it. She's completely pushed herself away. She knows that her son's going crazy, basically. So she's like, I can't anymore. I just can't. I can't do this anymore. So she basically she dips out of King's Landing, which we saw in the last episode. She was also kind of getting away to clear her head and whatnot. So that division is there. Don't know if it's in the book, but that division's there. We do have this little scene with Crispy and Gwen, which I think is actually really good. Not because I like either of them, but because finally someone called out Crispy for the bullshit that he's been doing this last 2 seasons. And he in himself is, Kristen's like, yeah, I falter to the women like most women, like most men will do, and you can't blame me. And Gwen's like, your fellow White Cloaks, they're not doing it. He goes, are they? But this whole scene, still hate Kristen Cole, but this whole scene at least was him openly admitting that he's a piece of shit. Well, okay, he doesn't quite admit that he's a piece of shit, but he's openly admitting to someone that, yeah, he's not been upstanding and honorable like he perceives to be, which is a good thing, because he's not. None of us accept that, think that he's even upstanding. No, he's a crap person throughout the show, and he's been petty and childish basically since Rhaenyra was like, no, I don't want to run away with you and give up my dragon and my kingdom. Are you crazy? But and then he's telling Gawain, like, he's come to this realization of, yeah, we're insignificant compared to the dragon riders and the dragons. Like, they'll wipe out. I thought I was, ready for this. I thought I could handle this. And if it was man to man, yeah, I could. But dragons are a completely different monster, really. So Crispin Cole's basically in his whole head now that he's like, God, I'm nothing. I'm insignificant. This really, I have zero impact, really, because if the dragons come out, I'm just screwed. Like, I'm probably gonna die. It's a good thing you realize it, because that's a big thing for a lot of the people, I think, in the show, because that's why they've always been terrified of the dragons, because of what the dragons can do, because what Aegon the Conqueror did when he decided to conquer Westeros. Now the people in the era that haven't really ever seen the dragons go at it are seeing it, and they're like, oh my god, these things, these beasts, these creatures, this is crazy. So it was a good moment for him, because he's realizing how insignificant he really is, and all the dumb crap he's been doing really is stupid. Anyway, glad that Gawain called him out on his bull crap, because Kristen Cole is a piece of crap. He really is. I don't care if in the book he's better. Right now, from the show's perspective, he's a shitty person. Okay? So, book fans of Kristen Cole, they've made him not a likable person in the show. And I'm judging it solely off of the show. I always say that the book's always better, because the book is the truest source. But one of the things I keep hearing when it comes to the Game of Thrones stuff, or at least the section covering the Dance of the Dragons, is that the book was written basically from the perspective of the winners in the end, or of those who are biased towards the Greens. So that's why the book reads kind of like making Rhaenyra and her side out to be terrible, and the show is apparently supposed to kind of be showing you the real truth. Again, I don't know. Might be the case, might not be the case. I've also heard that, Martin doesn't like the show at all, yet Martin apparently has been, tons of stuff's come out saying that Martin's been a lot more involved in the process of the writing aspect for this show. So which one is it? Does Martin hate what the direction they're going, or does he actually involved with the writing, or at least overseeing some of it in the end? Because remember, Martin loved Paddy Constantine's version of Viserys more than his own book. So I can see him being on like, yeah, this is actually, I know I wrote it this way because I did that on purpose. This is actually what's more intended to be known, right? Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. Again, I know the book's the source material, but again, Martin's the author, and if Martin comes out and he's like, yo, the book is like a biased viewpoint, the show's kind of not. That's why I'm like writing it this way, or helping writing it this way. Gotta have to take the show at it like that, because he's coming out admitting to it. Anyway, we have more stuff with Damon and Harrenhal, but this time, again, we didn't just sit around and do a whole lot of nothing. We didn't just pander around stuff. No, this stuff in Harrenhal was actually pretty damn good in this one, I'll admit. The night that she sent, the sir that she sent, oh my god, I forgot his name. I'll figure I put it up there. She sent him over to Harrenhal to talk with Damon. He's over there talking to Damon. He honestly is kind of setting that, you know, making Damon trying to be like, oh, we need you, we need a king, you know, take your respect, they'll respect you. So he's sowing the seeds. The older Harrenhal lord's like, oh, this ain't good, this ain't good. So he sends out the raven to Rhaenyra, which allows her to show up. But before Rhaenyra shows up, Damon and Alice they don't spend a night together, but like she takes him to the tree. She's having this conversation. She's like, you've been broken down. This place is showing you a lot of weird things. I need you now. I think you're ready. You're ready to see the real truth, the future, and everything. So she put his hands up to that tree there, and that's weirwood tree. I think that's what it's called, the weirwood tree. He puts his hand there, starts to bleed. Damon gets all this vision stuff, and all this vision stuff basically shows what's to come in the future, 100, 200 years from his time. He sees White Walkers, he sees the carnage, and he sees Daenerys. I've seen a lot of people talk about this last week when like it was kind of teased in the teaser trailer for the episode that Daenerys was technically the prince to come, not even Jon. I've seen this. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if that was the intended purpose. I don't know, but the vision does show Daenerys with her dragon and the White Walkers and all that's to come. And I think it was in this clip that he even sees, or at least sometimes, and so my bad. So he sees all this, and this gives him the perspective that he needs moving forward, which leads to the conversation he has with Rhaenyra, where he openly admits, he bends the knee to her. You know, he tries to show the affection to her and everything, but he's openly admitting, he's like, you know, you're the rightful queen. You're the one we should lead. I bend my knee to you, and they follow me, so they'll bend their knee to you as well. So Damon has finally come around, and I've heard that in the books he supports Rhaenyra, he stands by Rhaenyra and all this. So we took the long way around with Harrenhal, because again, there's way too much Harrenhal in this season. Could have trimmed that down by like 2 episodes. Seriously, they could have made him start doing the vision stuff at like, if they had to wait till the end of the episode, they could have started like episode 5, started doing this hallucination stuff, but whatever. But he bends the knee. The people that support Damon bend the knee. So Rhaenyra has her army in Harrenhal. And during all these prophetic visions, not at the tree, I think about it at the tree too, but at some point in this episode, he sees a prophetic vision of Rhaenyra sitting on the throne. And he accepts it. He finally accepts it. Again, all the other stuff he's gone through, the visions with his brother, I think that was the turning point for him to really accept what he needed to accept. Because he even says it to her. He goes, you know, you were my brother's chosen successor. I accept you as queen. Fun. Like, again, the stuff with Harrenhal and Damon was really annoying throughout the whole season. But the stuff, when the Harrenhal stuff finally covered and started to have him interacting with his brother through these visions, that was good stuff. And that's what was needed. That's why I said you probably didn't have to waste an entire season of that crap on him and Harrenhal, when you probably could have started it at like episode 5 and had him start seeing visions of his brother moving, you know, and then you move forward. So like, I'm glad the stuff with Harrenhal is done. I'm glad that I think we're finally past stuff with Harrenhal, moving forward completely, especially with the season coming up. I don't think we'll have any more prophetic vision stuff. I know probably we're going to be like, God, why wasn't he hyped for the vision and the future with the Dany? I don't know how to react with it. Again, I don't read the book. I mean, it was cool to see all of that. It was cool to see that Damon seeing the future and what's to come, and him accepting it, and him basically telling Rhaenyra the same thing, like, yo, you know, there's something coming. We need we need the rightful ruler that can unite the kingdom. That's great and all. Hey, I don't know. It was cool. It was cool. I'm not gonna lie. It was cool. But if you were someone that was like really hyped in that moment, all the power to you. I'm not saying I wasn't hyped. You know, I was just watching it, and I was like, oh, that's this stuff of the future. Okay. Oh, White Walkers. Oh, Danny. Oh, okay. So like I was there. I was invested. I was watching it. But again, maybe because I'm just not like I'm not a big book reader or anything like that. So maybe that's why I'm not like, oh my God, type of, it was really cool to see that. And it was really cool to see the prophetic vision of them seeing the future. And it's cool that this was kind of like the last little straw that Daemon needed to finally accept Rhaenyra as queen. And the episode ends off with Rhaenyra and Alicent talking. Alicent makes her way back over there to Dragonstone. They have their conversation, and Alicent's like, no one knows I'm here but my attendant, and he's outside the gate. Put down his weapon. I'm not here to fight. They have their whole conversation, and Alicent's basically saying, like, kind of admitting she's wrong, kind of. Not entirely, because there's parts of the conversation where Rhaenyra's like, you're kind of still avoiding acknowledging that you were wrong, and this could have all been avoided had you not did what you did with Aegon. And and Alicent is kind of like vaguely like, yeah, you're right. So Alicent's like, I'll help you get the crown. I'll help you take the throne. I'll help you do all this. Aemon, so I forgot what she said about Aemon, but they're like, deal with Aemon. Helena will be the rightful queen. I'll have Helena step down, giving you the throne. And Rhaenyra's like, and what about Aegon? And she's like, Aegon's broken. He's messed up, but I still think I can talk with him. I still think I can reason with him. And also, I don't think she knows this, but Larys has gotten Aegon out of King's Landing. Like, they've taken him out of King's Landing to avoid Aemon, because he was talking to him, and he's like, we need to leave. Your brother's going to try to kill you anyway, so we need to leave. And Aegon's like, I don't want to leave. And he's like, if you leave and the thing goes to crab, you can come back and put it back into place, and the people will be joyous with you. And they're like, oh, Aegon. So again, don't know if that's in the book, but they do get, Larys does take Aegon out. So moving forward into the next season, we're going to probably see Aegon not involved with anything, and they're probably making his way slowly back to King's Landing, whatever that may be. But again, I don't think Alicent knows this, because she's saying, like, I can talk with Aegon, I can convince Aegon, so don't worry, just give me a few days. And Rhaenyra's like, it's not going to work that way. As much as you want it to work that way, as much as I would probably like for it to work that way, it's not going to work that way. I have to take Aegon out. I have to take his head. I have to show my authority and my resolve. Like, that's the only way that people are going to fully accept me. You know this, and you can see it in Alice's face. She's kind of like, yeah, kind of. She understands this, and Rhaenyra's like, a son for a son. And the conversation in the end doesn't really go, like, I don't think they've really come to a full conclusion at what, like, they're like, yes, we're gonna do this, yes, we're gonna do this, but they are able to hash out a lot of their problems there. And I think moving forward in season 3, they'll be maybe a little bit more reasonable with each other. Maybe they'll have a little more understanding of things moving forward at all. But Alicent does understand that, like, in terms of taking over and taking the crown, Rhaenyra probably will have to kill Aegon for the people to go, yeah, she's the rightful one. Aegon just accepting it, stepping down, might rub people the wrong way across the kingdom. Whereas if she takes it, they're more likely to respect her authority because she conquered Aegon and King's Landing. You know what I mean? That's clearly the direction they want to go with that. Again, we kind of know from Game of Thrones, that spot with Joffrey where he's talking to Marjorie. He admits that, Rhaenyra's bones are down in that crypt. And the book tells you it ends a certain way between her and Aegon as well. Also in this episode, real fast, Aegon says his dragon's dead. Now again, I understand that he would assume that, but no one corrects him. Larys doesn't correct him. No one, it's not shown that someone corrects him about his dragon. So did she actually die? Are they writing it that Sunfire actually dies? Don't know. We also, in this quick moment right here, we see this dragon flying over. I initially missed it. So I scrolled back through, and of course some videos pointed out that's Daeron's dragon. So that was kind of like our first appearance of Daeron, but we don't see the character of Daeron himself. We just see the dragon. So I was like, wait a minute, that's the Lannisters and the green flags. That's a dragon, but it's not Vhagar. And I'm pretty sure Helena has not accepted doing anything with Aemon. So there's discourse. So I was like, who the heck is that? Apparently it was Daeron. And speaking of Helena and Aemon, when Daemon was doing his vision, Helena also saw into the vision at one point. So they're having a brief conversation. So that was actually kind of cool, because they're having this conversation and they're talking. Because Helena can see the future and she has these prophetic visions and stuff like that. She just sees them in very weird ways. But that was actually kind of a cool interaction to see them both experiencing the vision. And Helena's like, yeah, like things are going to be really interesting. And the season finale, I like that part. Anyway, I liked that part. I think it was kind of cool just, again, to have Daemon and Helena interact the way they did. Is this finale a good enough ending? I think it is, because this entire season wasn't about big climactic over the top battles. We had one, but the season wasn't about it. The season was to sow the sights of the dragon, like how people view, like with Kristen Cole and the rest of the army, like, oh my god, dragons are crazy, they are pure destruction power, we don't stand a chance. Like, this is what the dragons will bring if it comes to this. It was to sow with the dragon seeds. It was to sow the descent between Alicent and Aemon taking full authority and causing death and destruction because he's power hungry. Told y'all. For those that want to go, no, Aemon loves his brother. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He straight up, because Helena calls him out as well. She's like, you tried to kill him. You set him on fire. You watched him fall. Like, Helena calls him out. So no, Aemon was not trying to protect his brother. He was trying to kill him. In like the third episode, he was trying to kill him. Alicent's no longer agreeing with Aemon. She comes to somewhat of an understanding with Rhaenyra, not really where they'd want to be, but they're kind of, I guess, on the mend somewhat. The wars moved. This entire season was just to basically put all the pieces on the chessboard, put them into a proper position, and then the game of chess, the Dance of the Dragons, is going to begin next season. I know this is going to, again, like I said in the beginning, this episode is going to rub people and bother them because they want the big, oh my gosh, the finale, I should be seeing dragons and this and that. Not every season finale is going to be that way. And the sooner you understand that and understand how narrative storytelling works, it'll help you greatly. This season was never about the big battles. This season was never about the big climax. This season was just about setting everything up moving forward. I will agree that they are padding out a little too much. I will agree to that. They are padding a little too much of the story. We moved really well through season 1, and season 2 slowed down a lot, which I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of story told, but you probably could have condensed it a little bit better to where you might have been able to start the season with the first battle of the Dance of the Dragons fully. But at the same time, I kind of understand when they're like, no, we'll make the next season fully about this. Some interesting decisions from a storytelling perspective, and the, building and padding out stuff, whatever it may be. This episode was not a huge climactic over the top battle. This finale ends with a very subtle and melancholy direction. It's a fine episode. 7. It's a 7, right? It's a 7 out of 10. It's a fine episode. You get the final pieces before everything moves in place. The armies are marching into place. It was a fine episode, right? I know this is going to bother some of y'all, but it was a fine episode. It could have been better. I will say this. The finale could have been better. The finale could have been stronger. The finale could have been more intense in some way. But for what it was, it's fine. It's fine. I don't think there's any real big issue with it. But y'all really need to stop being all like, we need fighting all the time. We don't. We don't need fighting all the time. And for those that want to argue like, well, the Game of Thrones had lackluster episodes for their finales. Well, they were followed by something climactic before that. You're comparing finales to finales, not the penultimate episodes to the finales. That's not how you compare it. Game of Thrones had some lackluster finales, and they had some really intense finales. the episode that comes before it is not indicative. Like, you're just comparing finale to finale. Game of Thrones had plenty of these. I'm sorry that this season didn't end with dragons going at it, and I get the show is all about the dragons. It's okay. Next season, you're going to get it. I know it's going to suck to wait. Probably going to be 2 years before we get anything. Hopefully not. But overall, this episode, 7 out of 10, like I said. The season as a whole, 7. I say the whole season as a whole, solid 7. Solid 7 as well. I think it was a good season. A little lackluster, a little padded out in areas, but overall, I still really enjoyed this season, and a lot of people really enjoyed this season. And I look forward to season 3. I look forward to more stuff with the dragons. I look forward to seeing these guys come back and probably finishing out the story in the next season. Or we may get a 4th one. I don't know. But House of the Dragon season 2 has been a pretty solid season across the board. They had a lot of high moments. They had a lot of low moments. But across the board, consistently, 7. And it's a 7. Not a bad season. Oh. And same old as Omo. Fuck Kristen Cole.